in big mass for today.
It
Hi
doesn't.
everyone.
It's hidden.
It's hidden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm so happy to come today with my invitee, Chinggay. Chinggay, if I pronounce it very well. So, hi, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on your channel. I've never done this before, so it's always exciting for the first time.
Yes, and you will see everything will go
Yeah.
smoothly and flowingly. Um, and by the way, I have wanted to give a like a quick snapshot of how I got your deck. So
Okay.
first of all, you are the creator of the Practical Magic tarot deck,
Mhm.
alongside with other oracle decks. So three oracle decks that you have created also. And my friend Steph from Journal d'une Femme Moderne, she has a French
Yeah.
channel. Yeah, you
Uh-huh.
know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember her name. Yeah.
Yes, so she got this deck for her, and she got an additional copy, and she offered it to me, and I received it, I think, like 3 weeks or something
Okay.
like that, around Christmas time. And when I had, I opened it, and I straight away had this desire to use it and to meet with it. It was so personal and so friendly.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
Yes, and it has flowers, it has people, it has some scenes which are really, I mean, they made me laugh, like when I saw
Uh-huh.
the box. So I used it really straight away, and I used another Oracle deck, which is called Spirit Doodle deck, and they spoke so well together. So I was
Oh,
like, oh my God, this is really interesting. So I contacted you, and here we are.
yes. That's
So
amazing.
amazing. So, can you introduce yourself to us and tell our people here, our community, who you are and how you came to create this deck?
Okay, sure. So, well, my name is Chinggay, and how I came to create the deck. Well, before being a tarot reader, I'm actually a writer. So I'm used to working with a lot of words and imagery because like I worked in magazines for a time, on websites, all of that. So I made the deck because I was really busy doing social media marketing for a job. I was working freelance, but I felt like all my creative energies were going into that. And I didn't have any other outlet for myself. And at the time, I was dabbling in tarot because I was interested in meditation and yoga, all these sort of esoteric spiritual practices. So I don't know, I was up late one night and I just thought, okay, why don't I just do something for myself? So I
Mhm.
started making collages because that's a medium I'm very comfortable with. And like, I think in 4 or 5 days I finished all 78 cards, and I didn't
Oh,
really mean for it to be sold or any. I just did it for me, and then I printed it, just one copy. I showed it to a friend, and she said, you should try to sell it and try to just put it out there and see what the response would be. And like I was so surprised. Like I only printed 10 decks the very first time. And like in one day they all sold to my friends. So I just decided, okay, I'll just see if I can print more, and then I printed more, and then it's almost 2 years since I made the
wow.
deck. Yeah.
Wow, 2 years. And how was your journey with this tarot deck? What type of readings did you do with it? I mean, 2 years, I mean, many things can happen in two
Yeah,
years.
absolutely. Like for the readings I used to do, I mean, I had a lot of different decks, and then when I made this, I just started using this all the time because I guess my voice is in it, so it's
Yeah.
just very very natural for me to pull messages when looking at the images that I myself made, and it's been really fun because I feel like it helped bring tarot into other people's lives, people who normally wouldn't try the practice or had no idea what it was. Suddenly, they were starting to pull cards for themselves and giving me feedback about how it was helping them calm down. And I think at the very least, that's what we want to do. It help us instill some mindfulness in our lives so that we can kind of chill out from everything, all the stress that's going on.
And let me say, this is very, very, very interesting deck for, especially for beginners or those who are not familiar with tarot deck, because in, especially in the court cards, you have put, like the meaning, a small like sentence or words, small words to say what this is, what this card is about. And let me show another card here. We have the Eight of Cups. Just walk away. So. It can be this meaning, it can be other meanings, but it can help, it can offer like a point to start with.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know a lot of people don't like words on their cards, but then I feel like those people probably they know how to read already. So I made the cards for people who it's so hard to memorize 78 meanings. I had trouble with that in the beginning. So I just thought maybe just even a little phrase could help people.
Yeah, and the images are vibrant, you have put a lot of colors in it too.
Yeah.
So how come you gathered everything like this in a collage? Was it like through a process? What were okay, let me ask this question this way. Were you living a certain process when you have created this deck? People sometimes create a deck because they are living an experience, transforming experience in their lives. What were you living at that time? Was it just a need or to express something, the need to find something for yourself, or was it something bigger?
I think it was really self-expression for me because prior to I was doing the social media thing for about 2 years at that point, but before then I had so much creative output because publishing was a different world back then. There were always books being put out, magazines were being put out all the time, and I kept contributing to that. And suddenly all the magazines shut down and everybody was transferring to social media. And I couldn't find a way to get my voice out there. And so that it really stemmed from that point in my life. But I guess it does speak to something bigger. Maybe it was really the point in my spiritual practice where I felt like I was connecting to maybe a bigger collective, because I could feel the archetypes of the tarot in my life, and I wanted to put it out there because maybe other people could relate to it also.
And self-expression is something really big. When we talk about big, it's really regarding the emotional impact on our lives. Self-expression is really important. And one thing I love about your deck is that you expressed it the way you were comfortable with. It's not, and this is something really I like encouraging people doing, is don't mind too much about the art. It is your own art, it is your own way of expressing it, and you own that. Nobody should tell you how it should be and what you should put on it. It's your own deck.
For sure. I mean, yes, people will always have something to say, whether it's negative or positive, so I try not to pay attention to that anymore. And it's not it's mine while I'm creating it, but once I put it out there, anybody can have an opinion and feedback, and it's good that people have their own take on what I did.
That's true, and this is why it's really important to talk about it, like self-expression, the way to
hang on out there.
Yes, yeah, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, I got it back.
Okay. I take time to say hi to Evelyn for those who are watching at the same time. And if you have questions, of course, I am looking at your comments. This was not the only deck you have created. You have created other oracle decks. Was it the same, feeling you got, I need to express myself, or was it for another purpose?
The oracle decks came as collaboration. So I don't have an oracle deck that's just mine. They're partnerships with friends. So I have them here. The first one is this how do we do this? Okay, no filter deck. Yeah, so this is an oracle deck I made with my friend. Her name is Miko. So she's also she's an artist, she's a creator, and she has a lot of quotes. And she didn't know what to do with them. She knew she wanted to do something with her words, but she didn't know what. And so she approached me and said, "Oh, you're making these cards. What if we put together her words and my understanding of how Oracle decks work. And so we put out this one, and then suddenly we had so many ideas. So the next one we did was this astrology based Oracle cards. So after that, I have another friend. Her name is Ouija. So she's my tattoo artist, and she's a watercolor artist. And we've been talking for years. We've had different collaborations already. We did a children's book together, and she's also into these practices, and she wanted to. It was a dream of hers to create an oracle deck, and her illustrations are really beautiful. So it took us a long time to really brainstorm this, but finally we came up with it. Yes, last year, and then just yesterday we restocked it because we ran out of cards.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, this is a quiet mystic there.
Yes, and we were talking just before the interview to see the possibility to have these decks in my shop. So if you ask me this question, we are in the process of creating this, I hope. And the other question I wanted to ask you is that, people sometimes get limited when they create a deck. For example, your friend, she got the codes. You, for yourself, for example, that you created the tarot deck first, and you didn't want to put it out straight away, but worked with it a bit. The creator has a lot of limits, a lot of buts, and maybe. And how did you deal with that? How did you confront these limitations and got beyond them?
Well, first, it was just doing it. I think it's hard for people who are trying to make decks. If you haven't even made anything, you haven't produced anything, and suddenly all these questions, the buts and the what ifs come in. I feel like you can let that come in maybe later on, but just first have the thing first, because otherwise, what are you even worrying about if you don't have anything with you, anything solid yet? So I think one of the biggest questions for me was like, how do I pay for this? How do I fund this? I'm just one person, but I don't know. It just worked out. I guess like things fell into place, and it's one of those cliches, like if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. Somehow I made it work. And yeah. So
it's just trusting and starting it and then seeing what happens.
Yes. Yeah. Because if even from the beginning you're stopping yourself, then for sure you're never gonna find out what's gonna happen next. So you at least give yourself the space and the time to just create something, and then start worrying and see if you can, and if you have an answer to all those worries, then maybe it's gonna work out.
That's so true. And also that, having that position to be in the present moment and working on it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting, when we create, we forget time sometimes.
Yes.
It's just the beginning, the first steps that get into the way. But as soon as you get inside and you start creating, you forget yourself and you forget everything around that. It's just you are in the pleasure of creation. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, your creation evolved. When I see the first tarot deck you made and the next creations, something evolved. How would you describe that?
Well, I guess it's because we change all the time also. So it's only natural that our creations themselves evolve. I mean, it's tricky because like some artists or deck creators can get tied to a certain style, and you think that's all you can do because that's what sells or that's what people know you for. But then I think if you take a bigger perspective and see how you evolve over months even or years, then it's only natural that things change.
How does this change? How did this change took place into your life? It's like I would say you talked about something really important here, to stay with just one style because that's what people love and that's what I am good at. But that curiosity that brings me outside the box. I'm having a special question here that is coming again, and with it, so I'm gonna ask it.
Okay.
Would you consider sometimes that the inspiration you get or the creators get are sometimes ahead of time?
Yeah, I mean, it timing I think plays an important part also, because like now all these independent decks, they're so popular. But if like I had done this tarot deck maybe like 8 years ago, it wouldn't have, spread out like past my friends or past even my country. So timing plays an important role, I feel, but I don't think we should worry about it too much, because like that's one of the things that can stop you from creating things. If you're too worried about, if the time is right, if I'm too
People
ahead
will
of my time.
understand it, if people will like it, if
Yeah.
yeah,
I
if
mean,
I can.
someone has to start something.
So true.
Yeah.
And how did you find you were talking about the collaborative work? How did you found that? The first deck was like your own creation, but the next ones were collaborations. How did you work that out?
It was so much fun, and I think it's just important to partner with the right people. I'm lucky that I'm good friends with these people, and they're very talented. It was very quick with the no filter decks. It was like we ironed everything out in maybe an hour. And Miko and I were both Aries, so we work really quickly. We get an idea and we just want to make it happen right away. So that worked for us. And with Ouija, it was more of a very slow process. And that was fine with me because I wasn't hurrying up. I was doing other things. And she was also busy doing other things. So this was just like at the back of our heads for quite a long time, until finally, it just grew and bloomed into something we could really sense and experience until it became a reality. So I think it really depends on the relationships that are formed between people who collaborate, and whether you can both make it work. Because sometimes you get along, you're friends, but then putting an actual product might not happen because, I don't know, your relationship isn't solid that way. So there has to be an element of like responsibility if you really want to make it work.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And talking about the decks and tarot decks, you are a reader. I mean, you are a creator who uses her decks. Do you use them for yourself? Do you use them to make readings for others? And how do you describe your style of reading?
I use them for myself. In fact, it's so hard for me now to use other decks for other people, and that's why I got rid of a lot of my decks, because I don't use them anymore. My style as a reader, it's evolved, it's changed a lot. I used to be very structured, like, I'm just gonna follow the Celtic cross, and this is what this position means this, and this position means that.
Yeah.
And I've discovered, like, over time, I just sit down and say, okay, we'll just talk, and then we'll just pull cards as we converse. And I'm having a lot of fun with that style, but sometimes I'll switch it up and go back to the structure base. So it depends on maybe the client's concerns and the environment we're at. I play it by ear.
Oh, this is interesting. And, sometimes we make a structure. For example, I was doing a lot of spreads, and readings for the beginning of the year. And how will be this year, and people sometimes need a structure because they have specific questions, but also we cannot ignore that light that comes, and then the answers that come intuitively too. And I find your deck really interesting in this regards because it has the structure. It kept also that some basis of the traditional meaning, but at the same time it's so creative that you can construct readings all together and take these elements, strange elements, for example, things that we can't see usually in the tarot deck. An elephant instead of lion, for example, it can really change our perspective and see more things, And do you use
No, I think it's helpful also to use different images, because people who are not familiar with for example, with the Rider-Waite, which I based the deck on, sometimes they'll point to certain elements in the card, like for example, they'll see this and they'll say, oh, there are flowers there, and it just brings a layer of meaning that would not have been there in the first place. So I think it's cool.
True. And do you use oracle decks with tarot decks when you do a reading, or you
do.
don't mix? You mix them.
I mix them a lot. and I don't have any rules. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you do it? Do you pull first the tarot? How do you? I get this. I get asked, like, how do I know how many cards to pull? Like, I'll tell them, okay, if they ask me a question, for example, they'll ask me, like, what do I do about my job? And then I'll tell them, okay, pull 3 tarot cards and 1 oracle card from this deck, another oracle card from this deck. And they wonder if there's some formula, and there really isn't. It's just like, I just think it would be nice to get some cards from here and some cards from there. I just play it by ear.
Yeah. And also, like, for example, you have got many friends also that you introduced to tarot. What advices would you give them, like following their intuition? But what other advices did you give them? And would you give new readers?
I always, I go back to the 3 card spreads. So just the general, like past, present, future, or option A, option B, outcome. Very simple spreads. And I think those are the building blocks that we can use to make, more complicated readings. But I think everything can be really boiled down to just 3 cards or even just 1 card. I always also tell them that if they want to develop intuition more or get to know the cards better, just do 1 card a day. And that's all you need to know, all you need to do to practice.
Well, this is really interesting because using our decks daily builds up a relationship and brings us to know them in a personal way too. Yeah. And I have got another question I forgot to ask you. But
okay, sure.
I just got it in my mind. You talked about meditation earlier and, and astrology. What would be the other spiritual practices that you have or that you do or you are interested in alongside the tarot?
I'm a big believer in meditation. I did a training 2 years ago, and I feel like out of all the practices I've done, I mean, as not counting tarot, it really changed my life. And I think taking the training really taught me a lot of things about how the brain works, because the way we did the training was half of it was really about science and like brain chemistry and all of that. Then the other half was more esoteric practices like Buddhist practices and all of these things that really appeal to people who read tarot. So putting the 2 together just opened the world of understanding for me. So that's what I like to do. Although now after our training, because like we had to do like I don't know how many hours of meditation for that. And after that, I don't really sit every day anymore, but I find meditation in the little things, like in journal writing, in even pulling cards. So I feel like they just blend together now.
And any other projects in the way, it's like, I know that you're a creative person. So what would be?
Yeah. You brought up astrology, I forgot. So I just came up with a book. Forgot to tell you about this. So it's this. Okay, here we go.
Practical magic.
Yeah, it's your guide to everyday astrology. So astrology isn't really part. I mean, I don't call myself an astrologer, but it's always been interesting to me since I was a kid. And I mean, there are links between astrology and the tarot. So as I was reading, I was becoming more familiar with it. And so I just wanted to do a practical magic approach to the signs. So it takes the signs and then I guess it's in the same way that I did the tarot deck. It just makes it a little easier to understand. And then we have a lot of like illustrations and yeah, it's really the same approach. So we just came out with this, and it's not available yet in all bookstores. So this is an exciting project for me.
Wonderful. When will it be announced? Maybe it will be available on Amazon too, or
I'm not sure about that, but I'm gonna figure out how to make it available internationally. But so far, locally, it's not even in all the bookstores yet. So yeah, one step at a time. But I'll make sure to get it out there.
Yes, please let us know so I can put the detail maybe in this in the description of this video when people will see it too. This is wonderful. So projects about astrology, maybe new or tarot decks or oracle decks. We don't know yet. I'm curious about that.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't. I didn't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think I came up with so many, so I'm trying to slow down first. Otherwise, I'm just gonna run out of steam. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, this is what we were saying earlier. Start with one project, and then there are a lot of things and ideas that will pop up later. Okay, now I will be picking 2 or 3 cards from your tarot deck and
Okay.
see what he wants to ask you as a question. Would that be okay for you?
Sure.
Okay, let's see the first question. Mixing the cards. Mixing quickly the cards. Oh, I've got the Death card.
Okay.
So the question maybe can be, what did you end up, or what? Yeah, I'm having this question of you have just finished a step and you are going to a new. So what did you finish? What did you end up? Maybe the last year or in the moment in your life.
Well, I think it's a great card because we just ended 2019. So what did I leave behind? That's a hard question. I think for my year now, I think I'm just making space for a lot of flexibility and freedom. I told a lot of my friends that my word for the year was play. So I just want to have fun. So I feel like I'm leaving behind taking things too seriously and being very, goal oriented. I mean, it's not bad to have goals, but I don't want to be tied to too many to dos anymore. So yeah, that's what I'm putting to death for now.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's something global, that feeling of too much things, too much focus on progress and doing and creating,
Yes.
and it makes us really burnt out.
Yes.
No more
Yes.
energy, no more creation, no more.
Mhm.
And this is really interesting to relate the death with too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next card is the Four of Wands. Beautiful.
Oh, okay, I'm happy that came out.
So it's all good for now. So what would be the question? Maybe what do you feel proud about, at the moment, or maybe what made you really? Yeah, this is the question. What is making you proud? Maybe you can speak about your work or your personal life.
For now, well, definitely, I'm pretty proud about my book. Not just because it was really a work of love, because I worked on it with family. I worked with my sister-in-law. I worked with my cousin and a very good friend, and so it was so much. It was such a joy to do, and so that's what I'm really celebrating now. And I guess because the Four of Wands has like that for now aspect to it. I mean, I can't just because I did something that I'm proud of doesn't mean that that's it. I mean, there's still more that can be done. But for now, I'm just enjoying first since it just came out. Yeah.
And this is interesting to to put a link to the first question. It's like I don't want to be in a do's, but more enjoying the process of creation. And the next card or the last question is the Eight of Wands.
Oh. Okay. Well, yeah. That for me, that's being really busy. But yeah, do you have a question?
Go ahead with what comes to you.
Yeah, that really symbolizes everything that's in my planner right now, because there's just a lot going on, and yeah, it's understandable. I guess we've all been on holiday for a while, and after the holiday ends, it's just like just so much. Even if it's not a lot, it just feels like a lot because we're coming from a period of like really not doing anything. So I'm a little overwhelmed by all the activity that's going on, and I'm really trying to pace myself and not get carried away.
Yeah, that would be a nice question to ask your deck. That you have it there. Maybe we can use an oracle deck to see what you can do at this moment that you are feeling so much overwhelmed.
Actually, I'm not the only one. A lot of people out there. So I'll use the no filter deck because I feel like it has a very sassy tone that I think we could all use. All right. It says, turn dreams into goals. Okay, so it's telling me not to be lazy. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like it also suggests that the Four of Wands, while we're in it, we should really celebrate, but realize that we can't be in that state forever, and we have to move forward too.
It's nice mixed together, it's like being in joy, being easygoing, but at the same time, having a bit of structure. It feels like a nice mix together. I've got a question from Otiv. Thank you for being here. Hi, Sel DiCaprio. Hi, Abundance Tarot. Hi, Strange Reverse. So Otiv is asking the question. She has a question for you. What is the aesthetic idea behind the tarot deck? It has a vintage, nostalgic feel to it that I find really fascinating.
Oh, thank you. Yes to vintage, yes to nostalgic. I was a teenager in the late 90s, so that was what I was really going for, and that's the kind of imagery I'm attracted to. That's why I like collage and just like ruled paper, anything that looks a little 90s, early 2000s.
Wonderful. And talking about style, you have what would be the different styles you have? You have the collage, you have the, I don't know how you call it, electronic design. I don't know how to call it exactly, but what are your different favorite styles to express yourself?
This is, I can't really draw, so this is the best that I can do for myself. But like, I appreciate a lot of different kinds of art. I wish I could paint, like Ouija's watercolors for the Quiet Mystic. I love that. I also love the look of gouache painting, but I just can't do it myself. So I appreciate that. In terms of tarot decks, I just put this out. This is cool. I really like the Saki Saki tarot, if you don't know about that. So I think it really goes with my aesthetic also, which it's kind of kooky. It's a little quirky. Yeah, it's a little modern.
Yeah, nice. Some modern decks, colorful decks. Good. All right. Now we have arrived to the last part of our interview. If you have other questions, please put them in the comments. I'm looking at that. The last part of the interview is around names or words that I will give you, and you have the right to give just one word.
Okay.
And I'm giving you these words intuitively, okay? So I will start with the first one. Parents.
Parents,
yes.
responsibility.
School.
Work.
Love.
Mysterious.
Astrology.
Fun.
Seriousness.
Boring. Oh no, what does this mean?
Infinity.
Forever.
Sun.
Happiness.
And the last word, magic.
Everything.
Good, thank you.
That's so interesting. That's so much fun. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for being here for today. I have really appreciated our quick talk, but I wanted to thank you for this tarot deck. I don't know if you wanted to share something, maybe spread or something that you wanted to share just before we finish.
Yeah, well, before I give the spread, thank you so much also. This is such a fun thing to do, and it's been great talking to you, and I love the quick questions. Okay, first spread. Well, actually, I don't take credit for it. I actually don't remember where I learned it, but it's something I always do for clients. I call it their homework. So it's a 3-card spread. The first card is do, the second card is don't, and the third card is sustain. So I feel like sometimes with readings, it can be very vague because we're talking about really broad concepts. And a spread like this, like giving somebody homework, something really specific to do, to not do, and to continue doing, just helps them take whatever they learn from a reading and put it in the real world.
This is wonderful, yes, and not just leaving the reading as an abstract thing. Readings are really serious.
Yes.
So much important. Thank you very much for being here.
You so much.
Thank you to those who are watching us, and I hope we can meet again soon.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everyone.